What's going
Got it.
on, friends? Welcome to another episode of the Main Games Podcast. With me, we have our special guest, Philip Blystone. Philip, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jenny, for having me. It's an honor.
For those of you who don't know who Philip is, he's wicked into soccer, and you're based out of Virginia.
Yeah, Northern Virginia.
Nice. And so we're just gonna talk all things Philip, all things soccer for the next like 30, 40 minutes, and it's gonna be great. That
Awesome.
being said, Philip, why don't you introduce yourself to all the main games listeners?
All right, guys. So thank you, Jenny. But yeah, my name is Philip Blystone. I'm 26 years old, and I'm just gonna do like a little backstory. I can honestly talk about, all day about like my whole history on how I started, but just to keep it short, I started playing soccer at 4 years old. I'm half Chilean, half American, so my dad originally wanted me to play like American sports like football, baseball, and basketball. But my mom, she's like, oh, like I want my son to play soccer. So she ended up putting me into like a recreational soccer team at the age of 4. It was like a co-ed, so boys and girls. And I kind of just stuck with it. I fell in love with the sport, and it was something I enjoyed running around, kicking that soccer ball. And since I was the first person in my family to play competitively, I really didn't know what path I wanted to take it in terms of whether I wanted to go the college route, if I just wanted to just play club soccer and just, end it there, or even play professionally. And as time went on, I started to fall, deeper and deeper into the game. And that's when I started to figure out, I think I want to take this to the next level. And I decided that I definitely wanted to play at a higher level. And I was thinking as in college, definitely, and even professionally as an option. So I joined my first travel soccer team at the age of 12 years old. And that's when everything started to get more serious, a lot more practices, and a lot better players for sure. And especially in the area where I live, the Northern Virginia area, it's a very diverse group of people. So we have people from all around the world, which is amazing. And it was definitely really hard for me at the beginning, going in from a recreational to a travel environment. And I, still decided that I still want to go this route, regardless of it being a lot more difficult. And I just decided I needed to put more work in during the summers. And I started networking with other coaches, trainers, and started working with them to, get the extra edge and to improve and to also learn what are the steps required to, go to the college route or to go the professional route. And that's when around age 15, I made my first international trip to France to go on trial at a professional club, Le Havre. It's a League Two club, and I was 15 at the time, and I left for about 1 month, and it was by far one of the best experiences. And I definitely felt like with the help of one certain coach I had, he really developed me into a much better soccer player. And honestly, the reason why I feel like I'm so good is because of this coach. Shout out to Coach Paul. And yeah, so he prepared me on for this trial. It went really well, and I had the opportunity to stay over there. But as a high schooler, it's a big dedication, to leave your family and friends to go live in a different country where you don't even know the language. And so I came back, decided that I wanted to finish high school before, I make the decision whether I want to go back overseas or if I want to go play college. And during this time, I was still playing with my travel soccer team. And I started working with a personal trainer at this place called Velocity. And at the time, I didn't realize how big of an impact this person would have in the career I'm doing today. But this person would have me do a lot of Olympic lifting techniques that I'm applying today, which is funny, and a lot of running mechanic stuff. So I was definitely exposed to a lot of different, training styles. And I think that's what really gave me an extra edge over some other kids, especially now. I feel like I've noticed that so many younger kids are doing a lot more sports performance training to get the extra edge, whereas when I was growing up, it wasn't really that important or really known how it is in today's like sports. And yeah, so went to a lot of ID college soccer camps. I got a couple college offers to go play, but my coach was not against, I would say, college soccer at the time, but he just thought the development, level wasn't going to be the best for me. And he thought that I would have a better opportunity playing overseas in France again. So after graduating high school, I decided to, go live in France for about over a year. I ended up signing with a small team in Paris, France called Drancy FC, and that was an amazing experience. I was exposed to a whole different ball game of soccer players, and the level was just incredible. It really opened up my eyes, and it made me realize, like, wow, like I have so much more work to do. And it showed me a different culture of how the game is played. The soccer system in the US is completely different than European soccer, as a lot of people might know. And it was just a blessing, honestly, because it opened up my eyes, and it's things that I get to take and that I apply to what I do now. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. But yeah, I lived there for over a year, and I was able to play professionally at a small level. And but it was still such good soccer. It was incredible. And so after, my time in France, I ended up coming back. So I just thought like, okay, like, nothing's really, moving forward. I feel like I'm not moving up. Maybe I just go back home, get my college degree, and maybe try to play soccer in the US, because it was very difficult as an international player, having a visa that would only allow me in the country for a certain amount of time. I did have to, travel back to the United States frequently, which made it a bit more difficult, but it was still, regardless, an amazing experience. And when I came back, I went to George Mason University, which is right here in Northern Virginia, and I finished my bachelor's in kinesiology, and I got a minor in rehabilitation science. And the reason why I chose this degree is because I was so obsessed with ways to get faster, stronger, and to get that extra edge on players. And I feel like as a young kid, I was always looking on YouTube, like how to get faster, how to get stronger. And a lot of the things were all in the gym. Most things were all in the gym. Like, everyone aspired to have the physique of like Cristiano Ronaldo because of how jacked he was. And I was like, man, I want to be as ripped as him. Cause like that's like, it was just so funny because, at the time I didn't realize that it was kind of dictating of what I wanted to do now. And it just left such a positive impact that like I wanted to teach others what I wish I knew, like, as I learned on. And yeah, so I ended up, graduating during COVID. No graduation, sadly, but um, ended up trying to start my own like soccer business because I started coaching kids at a very young age. I have a younger brother, and what I would do is I would actually train a lot of his teammates and help them. But at the time, I wasn't really like, charging them. I was there just to guide them and like teach them the knowledge I knew. And once I started my like social media page, I was very like timid and shy because like I didn't want it to seem like it was about me. I wanted to make it seem about like others. Um, but as time went on, people wanted to know like because I started my business as Spartax, and the reason why I named it Spartax is because like if anyone watched the movie 300, it's like 300 of the best, right? And I wanted to have the best of the best like group of people. Like I wanted to train the best of the best, and I wanted to have the best of the best community. So that's why I named it Sparta X, because I wanted our group to be the most elite, the best, and I just kind of stuck with it. And eventually, people gave me feedback. They're like, "Hey, like no one knows who's the behind the face of Sparta X. Like you got to put yourself out there. Like we got to put a face to the Sparta X." And eventually, I started like, showcasing more of myself, started putting myself out there. And it was really hard for me at first because like I was just like, oh man, like I don't want to make it seem like I have an ego that's about me, but people are like, oh no, we love it, we want to know who like about you. We want to, know who's behind it and stuff. So when I got that type of feedback, it made me feel a lot better. And then, people started recognizing me when I was like at the soccer field. They're like, hey, like I follow your page, like, I really love your drills and stuff. And that just gave me so much more motivation to continue to, help others create more drills and to use my knowledge of kinesiology. Like obviously, we study biomechanics, exercise programming, all that good stuff. So I was just trying to just help, the next generation of players get that extra edge and to, learn more things, not just to, teach these kids exercise, but to actually educate them and explain the why so that it would like they can understand like, oh, this is why I do this because it's gonna help me with X, Y, and Z. And yeah, just it's been a growing community. It's been growing and it's just crazy because I remember when I used to have like only 50 followers, I would post on YouTube, no one would watch it, and the only viewer would be myself. And I just kind of stuck with it. I just stuck with it. And now like I don't want to make it seem like it's like some big number, but like I'm really proud of how far I came, and now I'm at like 100,000 followers on Instagram, which is awesome. Like, and TikTok, same thing. Like it's just grown so much, and I'm just trying to, really spread the knowledge and teach people that you can still have fun and still work hard and be in an environment where you can improve as a soccer player. And that's pretty much like a little, story and background about me. So hopefully that gave enough information. Hopefully that was enough information for people to know about me.
That was plenty of information, and I love it. There's so much to unpack. And I want to point out first, I just pulled it up. You have 102,000 followers on Instagram, and for reference, guys, I have 1,483.
Trust
So,
me, like I,
so
I was
Philip is
I was
crushing
in your shoes. I was in your shoes.
it.
Like and it goes by quick. Trust me, like one day like you're gonna be looking back and you're gonna be like, dang, like I was always focused on that number, and then I realized I was like, you know what, just like keep on posting, keep on like spreading the knowledge, like keep on learning what's trending, like what people want to know. Like that's why I started asking questions like, what do you need help with? What do you need
Yeah.
help with? And they're just creating content what based off what people they need help on. And eventually as you stay consistent with it, like you're gonna just get more exposure. And yeah,
I
so
love it, dude. And I want to bring it way back to the beginning of your story when you said you went to, was it Paris
yeah,
for, or
I went
France
to France. Yeah.
for at 15 years old,
Yeah.
try out for a professional team?
Yeah, professional academy team. So yeah, that's
So, how, first of all, how did that opportunity even arrive? Because you must have been pretty good at that age to get, did you get an invite? Did you hear about it? Have to sign up? Like, how did you, and your parents were on board? Like, I want to know about that.
yeah, so at the age of 11 years old, like I mentioned before, shout out to Coach Paul. This guy, he was a player back in the day for Cameroon, and he had a lot of connections in France because that's where he grew up. And he knew of an agent who had, connections out there, and he developed me at the age of 11, and he started kind of molding me into the player that he knew that could play at that next level. He's like, okay, these are the things that you need to be able to do to play at that next level because number one, he played at that level. Number two, like he's a coach that has seen players play at the highest level, so he kind of molded me at a young age and kind of developed me. And then to the point where he talked to my parents and said, like, hey, like I know this guy that could potentially get Philip to, play overseas. And my parents and myself, we talked about it, and I was like, I really think this would be a great opportunity, not only to just be there, but also to like, it was almost like a two for one. If if something good happened, then great. But number one, it's the experience of being in that pro environment and to see how, I wouldn't say US soccer is bad necessarily, but European soccer is on a whole new level because it's been around for so much longer.
Mhm.
And yeah, so at a very young age, we just decided to take the leap and make. I was very nervous, as as you can imagine. Stepping into the locker room, everyone's like, "Who's this guy?" I'm like, and uh, it's funny because when I walked in, they thought I spoke French. I guess like maybe it was like the long brown hair.
Were you
And
like one of the only Americans?
yeah, I was the only American.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I was the only American, and so they would, they're talking to me in French, and I was like, "Oh, non parle français," and they're like, "Oh," and I was like, "American," and I was like, "Oh, American." So yeah, that's how it happened, and ended up doing really well. I think even though there's a language barrier, I think sometimes for sports you don't have to speak the same language to be
Mhm.
able to play the beautiful game, as a lot of people say.
Would you say that one of like the biggest factors to your success in soccer was taking just opportunities to be in environments like that where like you potentially weren't the best, but like again, it was all about development?
100%. 100%. Like you couldn't have said it any better because that is exactly what I apply into my training sessions today with younger kids. And I tell younger kids, if you have the opportunity to play with older, better players, do it because it's going to push you to like play faster, play better and just in general. Because yeah, you might not be the best player, but eventually you will adapt to it. If you
Mhm.
put, I guarantee anybody that gets, put into a professional environment, yes, it's going to be very hard, it's going to be very difficult, but we adapt. That's what's amazing about human beings. We can adapt. And sometimes, it's not going to be pretty at the beginning, but it's going to be worth it. And definitely, I agree 100% with what you said. It's, taking those risks and knowing that it's going to be difficult. But if you believe in yourself, eventually, yeah, you'll be able to play with guys that you probably didn't even think was possible being able to play with.
Yeah. So you were there for a month, you had fun, you came back, and then you went back post high school. What was that year like of playing professional soccer?
It was crazy, for sure. It was hectic for sure. Like I said, a different ball game. I feel like from going at like 15 years old and then going back again after such a long, I wouldn't say long, but it felt long.
It's like
I
what,
had to, I felt,
8 years?
yeah, I felt like it was like all over again. Okay, I have to adapt again. I feel like the speed of play, now everyone's older, everyone's bigger now. Everything was so much faster. I had to think so much quicker, and it was very difficult for me at the beginning for sure. And that whole year was crazy because that same year was the Paris terrorist attacks that happened. So it was crazy. It was just like insane for me to be there at that time. And then everything kind of changed for after that, like a lot more security going through the area. But I took the metro all the time to my practices, which was like the lifestyle was just different. It was very interesting, being by myself. I had to kind of grow up and being a country where I didn't even speak the language, I had to adapt. And it forced me to kind of grow up and be like, okay, you got to take care of yourself. You have to figure out where to go. You have to cook for yourself. You have to do all this stuff. You have to like, I essentially had to grow up and, be dependent on myself. So when in the mornings I would go train, I would read books to, make sure that I'm staying, just keeping my mind sharp and I'm still learning. I didn't want to just play soccer all day. Nothing wrong with that, but I still wanted to do things on the side where I got some sort of education as well. So that's what I was doing, some online courses. Um, and yeah, like that year, it went by quick. There's lots of ups and downs for sure, as everyone can experience as an athlete. A lot of frustration, but a lot of like ups as well. Um, I think just seeing myself, I felt like I matured a lot just being there, and because like I had nobody but myself, and obviously my parents being so far away, the time change. it was hard. It was definitely difficult. And I think if you want to play at that next level, you have to realize there's a lot of sacrifices that you have to make. And sometimes you have to leave loved ones to like try to achieve like the ultimate goal. And that's why you're going to see a lot of kids who burn out early on and a lot of kids who don't want to take it to the next step because they don't want to leave, their family and they don't want to leave the lifestyle they have. And I think that's why I have so much respect for so many players that play at the next level that, live all across the world to come play a sport, you know? And yeah, so it's very like eye-opening to say the least for sure. And it made me realize like how grateful I am to like, be back in the era, be close to family and that time with family just in general, because being away from them and missing out on certain events I'll be like Christmas, Thanksgiving, all these things that like I want to be home for, just like not being able to be there is just it's difficult, but it just shows that like you got to sacrifice a lot if you want to get to a certain level.
I have two major questions from that. One, what did a typical day look like for you while you were living there for the year of playing professional?
So when I first like once I started getting custom, I actually got a gym membership. So I would definitely start my morning like really early. I would wake up around like 6:30 in the morning and I'd walk about like a mile and a half to the gym. And after I got my gym workout, I'd, walk and stop at the bakery, pick up a baguette for about €2, which was awesome. Hop on the bus. I did like a big loaf of bread in my hand. I'm just like snacking on it. And like people probably are like, what is wrong with this kid? Like, they probably after that moment, they probably thought I was American for sure, like disrespecting their baguettes. But yeah, I would work my way home, make some breakfast, and then I would do some like schoolwork, something that, I would do something school related. After that, I'd go back out and do some training, so more individual stuff just to stay sharp. I'd go to like a local field that the team had like access to, so I was able to go there and do some extra training. Head back home, just relax a little bit. I'd go either walk around, go to a local park, or just stay home and chill, relax, like watch some Netflix, all that stuff. And then eventually time would fly by. Next thing you know, I had practice at night, take the bus again or go on the metro and then go to practice, come back home, make dinner, shower, and then, just relax and go to bed and just repeat that process. It seemed like a very repetitive thing, but that's pretty much how it was, honestly. Like, and then games on the weekends. So, obviously we'd leave the morning of because France is not that big of a country and the teams that we played weren't too far. So we would just take a bus ride. And yeah, that was pretty much like my day in life. Sounds pretty boring. But it was always cool to kind of, explore a different country for sure.
Did you have a roommate?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Was it
Yeah. So
someone else on the team?
yes, it was.
Cool.
Yeah.
My second question was you mentioned that like because of all the like how intense it is and the sacrifice you have to make, you see a lot of kids burning out. What do you think it was that kept you from burning out? Because you took this pretty far. Like a lot of kids say they want to play in college, but they don't. A lot of kids say they want to be a professional, but they don't make the commitment to going overseas because that is still professional, even if it's not in the US. So, like, what do you think helped keep you sane and like not burn out from that much soccer?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think one of the things is like I think the motivation I had behind me was just like do it for your family, as like cringe as that might seem and cheesy. I think in the back of my head I want to be successful not only for myself but for my family. I think that was the motivation. Like I can't complain. My parents worked so hard for me. I have to do it for them and do it for myself. I think it was like having my family behind me. Yeah, I didn't care how tired I was. Like if I didn't want to complain, essentially. had to do it for them. That was like my biggest thing. And I think if you have a big enough why, there's nothing that's gonna like stop you from wanting to achieve it. I have friends that are still chasing the goal of playing pro. That there's I have a lot of friends are playing pro, but let's say like their contracts are just like a year. So next year they get let off. What's the next team, you know?
Mhm.
And they're still pursuing that, and it's like it's admirable. And for me, I had at some point I was like, okay, like um, I had to look at like the pros and the cons, and for me, like I kind of wanted to switch directions. I still want to be involved in the soccer world, but you have to, I think, going back to the question, I don't want to go off topic, sorry. Is in terms of burnout, I think you just have to have a big enough why. And I think if you enjoy the game enough and you still try to maintain like the fun aspect of it, I think like it's gonna take you very far. I think a lot of athletes are gonna have a lot of downs, injuries, bad coaches, bad teams. Like I've been through it, and sometimes you just need a little bit of luck, and everyone's path is a little bit different. I've seen so many people, like people that didn't even go play college, like, they went to community college and they still ended up playing pro, which is crazy. Because a lot of people are like, that's not the ideal, path.
Mhm.
But I think, yeah, I think my family was like my biggest motivation for me to continue to take it that far. And I was willing to do like so much to reach that goal because of them. And like they were always in the back of my head. And it almost become like soccer almost became my identity to the point where like I didn't know what else to do. Like there was nothing else for me. Like I didn't see myself doing anything else in the world but playing soccer, if that made sense. It consumed me. Like everything I did, like everyone knew me because of soccer. And it just became to that point where that was the only option essentially.
So I guess that would kind of lead into, is your family the reason why you decided to kind of stop playing pro and you like wanted to come home and you were like, okay, I'm getting too caught up in like the player Philip and I just want to be Philip who also plays soccer and who also coaches soccer and like be with my family?
Yeah, that's you couldn't have said it any better, honestly. I think I missed my family so much, and I wanted to like I think life moved so fast, and I think a big part of it was like, after my grandma passed away, I just like, dang, like I wish I spent more time back at home or went to go visit them more. And I wish, like, I just felt like time was going by so quick. And in the moment, we don't really, cherish it because we don't know when it's going to be the last time.
Mhm.
We never do. So I just really felt like, being around my family just gave me a different type of feeling. I don't know how to explain it, but I just love being around it. Nothing beat it. And I think sometimes a lot of us are so quick to just want to leave. And I think, that's the reason like I'm so blessed because I had the opportunity to leave right after high school. And then it made me like, okay, like I wasn't homesick necessarily. I did miss them, but it made me cherish it so much more just being back at home with my parents. And I wanted to like not just be like Philip soccer, 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 I wanted to do other things. I like to hike. I like to do photography. I like to do videos. Like I like doing other things. I want to, explore. I like traveling. I felt like I never had that, opportunity because I was so focused on just training, be the best. Like don't ever miss a training session. I'd go so hard when I train. Like I train every day for hours. And if it wasn't something that was gonna benefit me, I wouldn't do it. Whether that was like going out, hanging out with friends and all that stuff. I would always skip it because I was like, that's not gonna help me. That's not gonna help me. How's that gonna help me go pro? Like that's gonna hinder me. So I saw all these things that were like just normal things. I saw it as like that's gonna be a waste of time. That's not gonna help me. And I started like losing myself in it because I started getting so caught up in like trying to be the best person. I became so obsessive of trying to be better that I was like I had like nothing outside of that. I don't know if that makes sense, but
No,
just felt like I kind of lost myself.
yeah, I totally get it. And I think a lot of athletes go through that. Maybe maybe not in high school, but maybe towards their end of the high school career, or if they're planning to go in college, or even in college, it does become their identity. I mean, you've been playing the sport for like 18 something years, you know what I mean? Like it's like who you are, and people will like know you as like, oh, that's Jenny, the rugby girl, or like Phil,
Yeah.
the soccer guy. So I completely understand. And I get why it's so important to have those like other outlets, because
Hmm.
it's almost like when I find myself getting too wrapped up in it, I'm just like I have to force myself to take a step back. And luckily I'm aware enough now that I can feel when I'm getting too wrapped up, and I'm like, okay, like this is as dedicated as it is, it's almost like unhealthy the amount of like things I'm cutting out of my life trying to achieve this certain goal.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like I feel like I cut so many, I would say like friendships and events just because I was like, I need to train. I need to train. Like, and I never gave myself a break. Because I felt like if I missed one day, I'd get behind or
Mhm.
someone would get ahead. And that was literally my mindset since like high school. And people are like, I think a lot of people are like admire that, but like I never saw it as like, oh, good for, yay, like I feel good. I was just like I was so like um what's the word? It was like I was not looking any other direction. I was just so straightforward um to the point where like I didn't do anything. I didn't go to homecoming, I didn't go to prom, like all these things like events that people thought like, oh, you should go, go have fun. Like, you only do this one time. But I was like, it's a waste of time. Like, and I was just like, I'd rather prioritize my soccer training. I'd rather go train and stuff. So yeah, definitely like, I mean, do I regret it? No, but I mean, I definitely realize now that like I wish I had a little bit more balance because when I see kids like being over obsessive, I'm like, hey, like just take a day off, just relax. Like you can do something else, have fun, enjoy your childhood, go
Yeah,
have fun.
now that you're working with kids and like the youth population, even if they're in high school and college, do you find yourself kind of like educating them on that point and like advising them, being like, listen, like I can tell you're getting really stressed and like kind of obsessive, like take a day off.
Yes, I had a friend that I started training who became over obsessive, who would do way too much training. I'm like, hey, you're gonna burn out. And that's what happened. Ended up burning out within the month. And now like, he finally like learns to have that balance. He goes out and does like fishing and does other things to keep that balance. And tell other kids like you need your recovery. So go out and find something else you'd like to do. You don't have to play soccer every day. Like you don't have to go hard every day. That's not the point. And I think a lot of kids get, obsessed with that. I want to feel pain every day. I want to like be on that grind every day, but you can't go 100% every single day. It's not realistic because you're gonna burn out. The best athletes in the world take the recovery days seriously.
Mhm.
It's just that we don't see it all the time. We're social media and all this stuff only shows when they're working hard, but you have to realize a lot of these athletes take the recovery extremely seriously and they love to take that extra time off mentally.
Yeah, for sure. So, as we're kind of wrapping up here, I just want to talk quickly about Sparta X. When did you start it, and what's the goal with it?
So I started Spartax in 2015, right when I finished high school, right when I graduated. And the goal for Sparta X is to create a community of like-minded people. I would even compare it to like BPN, but within more of the soccer community. I want to, leave a positive mark in the community and helping, not only I want to help all players, both guys and girls, all age groups, and inspire them and educate them on the knowledge that I've learned and to pass that on to these kids so that they can get the extra edge and to help a lot of parents. Like I'm starting a nonprofit called Joy in honor of my grandma, and the foundation is like essentially going to be helping and educating parents on the whole soccer system. There's a lot of parents in this area that are not from the United States. So a lot of parents have played soccer, They know how to train their kids. They're more like they're amazing coaches, but they don't know the soccer system. So, I want to educate parents on how can I help them and give them the best opportunity to give their kids so they can play at the next level. So I want to get pro players that went through the same route. Maybe they didn't play travel soccer because it's very expensive for some. Maybe they went and played at a community college and they still play pro. So I want that player to talk to the parents and educate them and be like, hey, like this is what I did and this is what I recommend. I want them to educate the parents so they can learn the soccer system because the coaching aspect, a lot of parents have played, but they don't know the soccer system in this country. So I'd want to eventually be able to do that and become like more of an education, helping, families that maybe they don't have the funds to get that personal and one-on-one training, but, be more of a resource for them to help these, get kids more recognition because a lot of times, a lot of players that don't have money, they're not getting the exposure that they deserve. So helping the next generation for sure and the people around here.
That's awesome, man. And if you guys are interested in what Philip's doing, you can follow him on Instagram. His handle is spartax.llc, and he puts out awesome quality stuff. So thank you, Philip, for
Thank
coming
you, Jenny.
on the show. I really appreciate it. And I know that some of my athletes are gonna find some value in this because we live in a big soccer community. So
Thank you so much, Jenny. It was an honor to be on here.
awesome. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.